Hello everyone, this is the 2019 edition LEGO Star Wars Droid Attack on the Wookiees Gunship set. We got the last one 5 years ago, technically, 2014. I also reviewed that one. This here is not that much different outwardly. It's mostly an evolutionary update, but it does use some newer pieces and some newer techniques, and I think that one of its action features works better as well. This is a pretty mean looking thing with a very nice build, a very efficient build. It feels like you add a lot to it regularly as you go through the build process. It doesn't take too long to complete it, but it feels very satisfying to me, and it does use a lot of interesting building techniques. And like I said, newer pieces in the LEGO inventory to create interesting shapes, like these little miniature mandibles here, if you will, that use I still don't know, the most accepted term for this shape here, but it's a wedge slope piece. It's 1 by 2 by 2/3 curved and cut from one side, but it's also on a modified stud piece with the bar on the side, and this stuff just all comes together well to create an interesting shape and an interesting angle. These eye cannons are able to rotate around pretty smoothly. Interestingly, you have this little bit of looseness every 45 degrees as you rotate this around. It gets loose, but it's not going to fall out easily. So it just feels a little bit wonky, a little bit cheap for a moment there, but you can get it into a spot where it's just right. You can also just rotate the orbit here a little bit and get it to not be in that spot. This is on a ratcheted joint, so it's a lot more secure, though it's not able to hit as many angles specifically. I like the top of the head here. That's built up very nicely, shaped up very nicely, and you can open that to, again, place a pilot in there. Even though this entire ship itself is a droid and would be able to fly itself, it still lets you put a pilot in there if you want to use that feature. If you don't want to use that feature, just don't. You don't have to, hate on the designer, the LEGO designer, for doing something non-canonical. You just don't use the feature, and then you're in good shape. I actually like this little miniature assembly off to the side. I don't know why. I think that's a targeting pod, but I just like the shape of it and how it goes together. You attach it from the underside, so you build it like this, and then you fold this over, and it just feels good to me. All the shaping is good. There are a fair number of fairly large stickers used to add some detail and texture to this. I feel like those are important stickers. Without them, it would look more plain, but it would still be acceptable. These out here are on ratcheted hinge joints, so you can change the angles of those. I really like the look of this in here. These round pieces were originally introduced as a mold. I think the first time they were used was on the Creator Expert VW Beetle, and here they're in dark blue, and they just look good, and they fit perfectly into that space. And I also like that small assembly inside of there. It doesn't do anything. I just think it looks cool. That's all. And then on the underside, you have stuff that actually does do something. These are little landing skids that you can bring down, and you can just retract them. They really don't do much, because I think most of the time you're going to be landing actually on these, and there's nothing up front to hold this up when it's on the ground. So most of the time when you have this just sitting down, it's actually going to be leaning on 2, if not 3 of the cannons, rather than here. I wish they had something retractable up here that could be used. I guess perhaps you could turn these down. That's something I hadn't thought of before. Use those as little landing pads up front, possibly. So as far as action features are concerned, you have your stud shooters, one here, one over here, and then you have these banks of flick-fire missile shooters with the remote actuators that will fire off 2 of them at a time. You just hit that from the back, and it's more convenient and more effective and more consistent than flicking a single one with the back of your finger at a time. So you fire off 2 of these, and it also works much better than the original almost bomb drop like feature that they had on the first one, or the last one of these that they did back in 2014. And again, of course, if you don't want to use that action feature, you don't have to, but I think that the missiles themselves look pretty good from most angles. Worst case scenario, if you don't like the feature at all, you just want to see the missiles under there, you can leave all this off. It's very easy to keep it out of the construction, but that's pretty much it. in this set. I think that it's well done for what it is. I personally was never a huge fan of these craft, but as a Lego toy, even ignoring the source material, I think that it's good because the build was good. It has a nice balance of large pieces to small pieces. The process of putting it together is really satisfying. It just really feels like you're making good progress the whole time, and everything just fits nicely. Just feels right to me. So I'm happy with this design. I think that the designer did a very good job overall. Checking out the figures, here's Tarful, the Wookiee, yes. Complete with his flintlock musket there. Classic. I actually like that figure. I've never been a fan of Tarful, just his look for some reason, but I think this Lego version is really good. The mold is really what does it for me, for his specialized head and body overlay piece, and the print work is very good. It's very crisp and well registered. I think that's a very good Tarful there. And then a proper little Yoda. I think Lego has gotten the Yoda head right. Even George Lucas himself had trouble getting Yoda right, and eventually got it fixed. And Lego has gotten theirs right. I only wish that this did include a cloth piece for him. Just as an option. You can always leave it off if you don't want it on. But if they don't include it in the first place, then you can't add it, So I think that's the only thing that really would have made this better. But overall, I'm very happy with both of these figures. Surprisingly so for the one on the left, because I really am not a fan of the character, or at least the appearance of the character in general, and haven't been a fan of most toys of him. And then for droids, we get 2 AAT drivers from the Clone Wars series, which is weird. These are clearly exactly that, based on their markings. But here they're presented as Kashyyyk battle droids because of the green. I'm okay with that, but for folks who want to be super strict to the canon, it's just not right. It's just not appropriate. But meh. So new variant of battle droids, and you get 2 of them in this set, and they go with the color scheme of the place they're supposed to be attacking, and you can always put them into AATs if you have them and you prefer to go with the more accurate deployment. Leftover parts are these, and there's some useful and interesting stuff here, including but not limited to that stud piece, which is actually gunmetal gray. Of course, they do also include a couple of extra regular studs for your stud shooters. I would value this set at about $40, just looking at it. And even though that gives it a close to 10-cent price to part ratio, theoretically, and it does have a large number of large pieces, which should give it a higher price to part ratio. It does have a lot of small pieces as well. And just ultimately, when I look at the total amount of stuff that you get with this, looking at the thing in person, how short it is back here, there's not a lot of depth there. There's not a lot of stuff that you get out of this space or anything. I think 40 is about right for it. The suggested retail price for it is $50. So, a little bit up from there, but with the increasingly standard secondary retailer discounts, I think you should be able to get it pretty close to a reasonable price. So that's pretty good for something that's designed well and has, I think, reasonable minifigures, although the battle droids are a strange choice. I think they look fine, and I think it's just a fine set. It's not fantastic, but it's pretty good. They definitely should have pushed down on that piece and that piece more. Bugs me a little bit in this picture, but overall the set is pretty good. If you want to see the build for this, you can check it out on my build channel, and I'll link to it right now, because that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.